Jerry knew the song right away. And that's
Do you know the artist?
Do you know the artist?
Michael Sembello.
Who?
Michael Sembello.
Okay, from which movie?
You just said it.
Flashdance.
Yeah,
Said it earlier.
that's right.
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm too young for
Yeah,
this.
remember,
No.
I'm 45, so I've been around a little longer.
I'm too young for this conversation.
Was she,
First time in my life, I actually felt like a real millennial. Is that fucking messed up a little bit?
all right, guys. Well, we are back.
So tell me when
today.
paper was made. Was that like a great thing?
It's Rick from Tobacco Grove with Cole, and we are doing another Cigars from Afar with Jere the Hitman, coming to us live from good old Chicago. And he's with Aurora Cigars. Jere, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well,
What's up,
guys.
Jerry?
How you doing?
Doing great, man.
What are we smoking? What are we lighting up today?
I have the 115th anniversary regular production cigar from La Aurora.
Okay.
That
And
we brought out
Love that.
last year.
Love
I
that.
likewise am going to be lighting up the exact same cigar right here, the 115. I love this cigar.
My man.
Mhm.
And I apologize for the smoke that's going to be here. I'm
I was
in
gonna
my
say-
non-mobile lounge.
Well, I was going to say, Jerry, I understand the quarantine standards in Chicago are pretty steep, but to your car is a little extreme.
Well, I can't smoke inside my my place, so.
So,
Thanks, Jerry. I knew that.
let's talk about that, Jere. I mean, obviously,
Otherwise, I'd have to do a walking broadcast, and then I'm going to have to make sure that I'm dodging anybody else that's walking around the neighborhood, making sure I'm staying away at least 6 feet or more.
I'd pay to see
That
that.
wouldn't be fun,
That would be fantastic. Oh, my God. Next time.
Jere,
Actually,
let's
there's not a
talk
lot of
about that.
people out walking around right now, so.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Chicago. Let's talk about Illinois. Tell us about just right now, what's the status right now going on in there? I mean, obviously here in Minnesota, we're doing the mandatory stay at home. Goes into effect until basically April 11th. But tell us about Chicago. What's going on there?
Well, so Illinois, we actually had the stay-at-home order put into place the weekend of St. Patrick's Day. But the thing that just happened yesterday was, and that was originally supposed to go to the 7th of April. But yesterday it was announced that it's been extended out to the 30th of April. So we've got an entire month yet at minimum. Hopefully, it'd be great if it actually gets lifted sooner. But as of right now, it's to the 30th of April. So non-essential businesses are shut down. There are, there's obviously liquor stores like the Benny's chain here in Chicago that's still open because they're considered an essential business. So obviously they've got the ability to still do business on the humidor side as well. But there's at least a dozen or more shops that are doing some form of curbside or shipping in terms of orders. So that way you can call them up or email them. They'll handle everything as far as putting all the cigars together for doing the curbside pickup or ship them to you.
So this has been basically
But,
going on about a month, right? It's been about a month now. It'll be going to.
Well, for us, I mean, it's already been, what is that about? Well, no, I mean, it's since St. Patrick's Day. So it's been, what's that, a little over about 2 weeks already. And so then now we've still got a full month yet.
Wow.
People, part of the problem is there's still been a lot of people going out to the beaches and whatnot when the weather's been good. And, like the lakeshore bike path along Lake Michigan, there were a lot of people out there still running or biking. And because of that, the mayor in Chicago actually even put into effect that there's the potential to be fined because of that.
Sure.
So they've done a lot to try to reduce the amount of traffic that as far as the parks and whatnot that are along the lakeshore that are associated with the bike path.
That's crazy. I mean, you heard about all the stuff that was going on in spring break down in Florida and everything like that, like all the idiots that were saying, we're fine and everything like that. It's like, don't be stupid. This isn't quantum physics here,
Yeah. Well, I mean, part along that same line is what happened with us when it was St. Patrick's Day weekend, because there were still a number of, so at that point there wasn't a stay-at-home order put into place, but there was a directive that bars were not supposed to have more than half their traditional capacity and no more than 100 people in total. So even if a bar, say, had a normal capacity of 250 people, by law from health code, they could only have 100. They couldn't even go halfway, because 100 was the maximum. But part of the problem is there were still some major pub crawls that were occurring. And because of that, there were a lot of people congregating outside of bars, in the street, on the sidewalks, not spacing themselves out at that point. So immediately following that, that's when the governor of Illinois put in the stay-at-home order. Bars and restaurants were ordered to shut down. Restaurants can still do takeaway or delivery, that type of thing, but nobody can be allowed inside the restaurants to eat.
Well, that brings us to what we're doing today.
Kind of had that same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it brings us to what we're doing. This is a great way to still, have basically socially have cigars at a distance, etc. So let's talk about La Aurora. Cole and I had the privilege of coming down. That was back in, was it November? I believe it was. Yeah, it was November. And got a chance to tour the factory in the Dominican Republic, which was awesome. Talk to us a little bit about La Aurora, the company itself, and kind of give us a little bit of history on that.
Well, for anyone who's not totally familiar with La Aurora has been in existence since 1903. So the cigar that both Rick and I are smoking, the 115th anniversary, was debuted during the time that it was still the 115th anniversary. La Aurora turned 116-year-old in October last year. So they've been operating for 116 years. They're the original Dominican manufacturer when it comes to cigars. Originally, when they started, they are actually a tobacco operation as far as growth before 1903, but then expanded and opened up the cigar manufacturing side. Family-run business, owned currently by Guillermo Leone, who is the son of the previous owner, Fernando Leone, who had passed away in 2009. But yeah, La Aurora, they've been making cigars for quite some time. Currently, I believe all factories in the Dominican Republic, they are shut down because of the current situation with the virus. So production has stopped, at least for the time being. Hopefully, things are going to be able to open up, just like with the rest of us, relatively soon. But we'll have to see as that goes on, as far as how things go time-wise.
And anybody can go to this factory and kind of go through the gift shop area and kind of see it. I mean, it's super cool when you walk in. I wish there was a way to do like some still photos from when we were there, but when you
have some of the cars,
the cars that they have and the history of the company and the tobacco, and the gift shop is super cool with that rum, the 100 Años rum.
Yep.
Rick never brings back.
Yes.
It's so good. I know.
Yeah. So
every time he goes to the DR, every time.
No, that's the thing that's really nice with the factory. So it's, as far as TripAdvisor, I believe, I'm not sure as far as the current statistics, as far as ranking, but as far as within the northern part of the country, in the Cibao Valley area, they're the #1 destination as far as for TripAdvisor because of the factory tour. There's a number of tours that would normally go on throughout the day, Monday through Friday. So, there's people that come from all over, as far as, talking from Asia, talking from Europe, from Africa. The guide for the factory speaks a number of different languages, so he can actually work with a number of different groups, and sometimes even has to speak a couple different languages at the same time during the tour. Sure. But you've got the ability to see the entire layout as far as the factory. There's the gift shop where consumers can purchase product there directly to take with them. There's the rum that you mentioned that they do with Ron Barcelo that they have done since the 110th anniversary. It's started to be distributed in the U.S. on small scale. That's actually handled by Karl Malone, who actually does his cigar through La Aurora as well. So
I was going to ask you too, Jerry. So you have a lot of, if everybody can see that too, just a lot of lines within La Aurora, a lot of great stuff.
A giant blur. a giant blur of
How about
cellophane.
this? Yeah, but
Put some, yeah, okay. This is high quality production, people. Okay.
this is our fourth attempt. Just bear with us here. It's these are tough times. We're doing the best that we can with the resources that we have.
We're working on equipment that's at least 6 years old. So.
That's being kind. That's being very kind of you, Rick. Speaking of Karl Malone, though, tell me about what it's been like for La Aurora to do a joint venture, with him as far as the cigar and, kind of what it means for, a different approach to La Aurora that might be different than the traditional stuff they've done in the past.
Well, I mean, that's the thing that's kind of nice. So Karl, that venture is, done directly with La Aurora. Miami Cigar, we distribute La Aurora for the United States. And last year with the trade show is when we officially debuted the Karl Malone cigar as part of our portfolio, as far as part of our offering. But he's been developing and has worked on that relationship with La Aurora for a few years now. Karl's obviously anybody that sees pictures and knows about him, he's a big cigar smoker. And it's such that, this is a blend that he took a lot of time with the factory to determine the blend that he wanted to go with for the offering that he produced. Originally it was launched not at last year's trade show, but the year before, but that was done on his own. And last year is when we took it under our umbrella as far as part of our distribution. So it's really cool because, you've got a name behind it, but you've got a guy that's passionate about cigars. He's got a lounge that his daughter runs down in Louisiana. He was a keynote speaker at the TPE show this year. He's been interviewed in a number of the publications, periodicals as far as, Cigar and Spirits. Trying to think, he's also been, I believe, Cigar Press. I can't remember all the ones that just offhand that he's been in, but yeah, that's right.
You get a lot of times when a celebrity does a cigar, right? And there's definitely been enough of them out there. The cigars usually are not honestly that good. That's been my experience. But this cigar, and I actually said this earlier in the year in an email, this is an exception to that. This cigar is really, really good.
I was surprised when I smoked it out.
Yeah, it's the thing that I like with it is the fact that strength-wise, it's like a medium plus. It's not an overpowering cigar. It's a ton of flavor. There's a lot of complexity to it because of, in my opinion, one of the things that's the most unique about it is the fact that part of the filler is Peruvian, which is a very unique tobacco. It's not something that you see a lot and that is actually a feature of the cigar. And that one actually is, because it makes up, from what I've been told, about 50% of the filler component. So it's something that you really get to actually experience what Peruvian tobacco tastes like. You really get to understand the difference of how it is compared to, Nicaraguan tobacco, where you get that great pepper to it. You get Dominican tobacco that is more woody in terms of a profile. Some creaminess depending upon the leaf that you're talking about. So with the earthy notes that you get off that Peruvian, it really stands out, but balances very well with those other two fillers that are utilized from Nicaragua and from the Dominican Republic, and also Ecuadorian as far as wrapper and binder. So you get a lot of complexity, but that Peruvian tobacco really stands out. It really creates a great flavor as far as the blend.
I wanted to ask you a little bit, Jerry, about we hear and have seen a lot of stuff in the industry in regards to barrel aging. And I don't think a lot of people know La Aurora has been doing it for since its inception in 1903. If you can touch on that a little bit and, kind of tell everybody the difference between what La Aurora does versus maybe some of the other companies that are using that same type of approach.
Yeah, so, barrel aging, that's utilized primarily for the filler tobaccos. However, with something like the Karl Malone cigar, all of the tobaccos are actually barrel aged. La Aurora has actually done even some other barrel aged products. They had their original barrel aged cigar that had been on the market for a number of years. But there was also a special version of the Preferido tubes that was done, and that was called the double barrel aged. That one was also unique in the fact that not only the tobaccos themselves before the cigars are rolled were aged in rum barrels, but then the cigars after they were rolled were also aged in rum barrels. And so it's just another technique that provides different flavor component to the tobacco. You're not talking about the actual rum. You're talking about the sugars, the wood notes that come off of the barrel. You know, get that slight char kind of taste to it. Nothing overpowering, but it gives just a unique profile to the tobaccos.
So absorbing the devil's cut, more or less.
What's that?
Absorbing the devil's cut, I guess, is what they would call it under the barrels.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's really not necessarily about the rum itself.
Sure.
You know, it's about the characteristics coming off of the wood and getting that as far as those notes into the
and you can that's another thing on this tour. When you come down there, you can actually see the room with all the barrels, and
That's incredible.
it smells amazing. It smells really, really good.
Yeah.
Speaking
well, I mean, going back to like what you're talking about as far as the tour, you know, there's also another aspect that La Aurora does that's a little bit more involved. They've got what's called the Cigar Institute, and it's actually a course that people can sign up. It's a paid course, but you're actually going through a more in-depth tobacco training. And it's not just La Aurora that's involved with it. There's other manufacturers that also are teachers, professors during those courses. So it's something that incorporates more of the manufacturers from the Dominican Republic than just La Aurora. So La Aurora actually offers a few different things as far as not only the regular tours that you can do, but there are some higher level types of activities that can be done.
Wow. Well, let me ask you this, Jerry, too. So, you know, a lot of people, you know, there's different stuff that everybody asks what's new with La Aurora, with a lot of stuff in the industry. I always find like the traditional stuff La Aurora makes is vastly overlooked in the humidor. There's so much good stuff. Like when we were smoking the Cameroon wrapper, the Preferitos or Busto on the bus, me and Rick looked at each other and go, I haven't smoked one of these in years. It's fantastic. Is there anything else that a lot of people really need to try that they may not have smoked in, you know, say 5 years or longer, that are staples of that company?
No, I mean, I definitely say Cameroon, you know, it's great that you mentioned that one, because that, you know, we've got what we call our time capsule series. You know, there's the Preferitos, which are what's called 1903 edition. In the time capsule series, which is a value price point cigar. Sorry, I don't have sunglasses to put on.
Look, man, it's bright out here. I had to pop the Tom Ford.
I understand.
It's a little bright.
Oh, of course.
I had to put on the aviators, man. My future's so bright.
Gotta wear shades. But yeah, so the 1903 Cameroon, it's named such. We call it time capsule, though that's not the official name. They're original blends. The time capsule series, they're based off of naming the cigar on the wrapper and the year in which it was first used in the factory. So the Cameroon is called 1903 because Cameroon is actually the first wrapper that La Aurora started with. So that's the wrapper that they literally had the most experience with. So it doesn't surprise me when, you know, people talk about Cameroon. You know, La Aurora should be one that they have on their list. But also something that I think they do very well with are going to be something like with the Brazilian tobaccos, like Brazilian Maduro. So that would be like the Ruby within the Preferito line, or actually even the new 1985 Maduro within the time capsule series as well. Maduro, you know, you've got a couple different types of Maduro. I like the Brazilian Maduro just because of that really nice sweetness that comes from it.
Ruby's one of my favorite smokes.
Part of the reason also why the 115th is a favorite of mine, because of the Brazilian tobacco that's utilized not only in the filler, but also as a binder. So
Sure.
Getting that sweetness, it's a great aspect.
Let's talk about the 115 since we're on that right now. I mean, obviously you and I are both smoking it. It's been a very, very popular in the humidor. I think the packaging on the 115th is one of my favorites right now that's out at all. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. Let's talk about the cigar, the build behind it, et cetera, because this cigar is an everyday cigar for me. I mean, it's in the repertoire every single day. This cigar can be smoked. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, no, I'm glad to hear you say that. I appreciate that. Me personally, I feel kind of the same way. You know, when I talk with my stores about this cigar, if it's something that, you know, when we first brought it out, that they haven't had it before, I like to make sure that they understand how much I think it is a tremendous profile as far as flavor that can hit a wide audience, Strength-wise, it's medium full at best, so it's not a very strong cigar overall. But the flavor, it's full body as far as you get that great heavy smoke flavor in your mouth. It's an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper. Like I said, it has a Brazilian binder and features Nicaraguan, Dominican, and Brazilian fillers. So you got a great combination of pepper, wood, sweetness, just a ton of flavor, but nothing too overpowering. And it was such that when I first was able to try it at the trade show, before even lighting it up, I knew it was going to be something special just because I could really taste the Brazilian tobacco. And it didn't surprise me to see when someone like Cigar and Spirits magazine gave it their cigar of the year.
Sure.
Because I feel that it is that good of a cigar. It's something that I feel is one of, if not the best blends that La Aurora has put out recently.
Well, I mean, that would be something, again, for the people that are watching it, all three of them. I would highly recommend smoking this cigar. I think you would absolutely love this cigar. You know, let's talk about real quick, because we're going to be out of time in just a little bit. Let's talk about DNA, or ADN as it's put on the band. Let's talk about that, because that's a unique cigar that you guys have. Talk to us about what's unique about it.
So the thing that's unique about the ADN or DNA is the fact that it utilizes a tobacco that's called Andullo. And Andullo is actually named, it's named after the process, which is totally different as far as doing the curing, the fermentation, the aging, compared to what you would normally do where tobacco is stacked up in pilones. The tobacco in this case, once it's pulled from the field, it's only cured for 14 days in the barn. So it doesn't go through the full curing process that you normally would, because you're not wanting to break down all the sugars at that point. And so after 14 days, it's then packaged and rolled up inside of a palm leaf. So there's about 30 to 32 pounds of tobacco that are rolled up inside of a palm leaf in about a 6-foot long, kind of like tube tied off at the ends, but a rope is wrapped up the entire length of it to compress it.
And it's heavy.
And it starts.
It's really heavy.
It is.
Yeah, it's really heavy.
It's 30 to 32 pounds of tobacco. Wow. But when it first starts, it's at about a 6 to 7 inch diameter. And every 2 weeks they open it back up. They'll inspect it, make sure that there's no issues with the process at that point, and then they'll repackage it and they compress it further and further to the point that it gets to about 3 inches in terms of diameter. So that's after about 5 to 7 pressings in total. And then after that, then it's aged. But the fermentation, aging, all of that occurs inside of that. It's called a yagua, where it's inside of that palm leaf. So it's going to age in there for at least a year or more before they'll utilize it. But then at that point, it has to be taken apart so that way they can utilize full leaf. And so they'll cut out sections at a time to pull back apart, so that way they have full leaf. But otherwise, because it goes back centuries to the Taínos Indians, it's the original technique that was utilized for doing fermentation and aging of tobacco. But the Taínos Indians would actually, they'd chew it. You could actually grind it up into a powder. They would snort it. Those things aren't done any longer, but it is also something that's utilized in pipe tobacco. But La Aurora was the first ones to really utilize it in their cigars, and especially in the ADN, to utilize it as a primary component for the filler as a full leaf. But it's combined with 4 other Ligero tobaccos, so it's all Ligero in terms of filler. So it's a strong cigar, but a very complex, rich, flavorful cigar, because that Andullo process, it results in flavors that are like milk chocolate and honey. When you cut open that yagua and you smell the ends, you smell that tobacco, it's just incredible as far as the richness and complexity that's there, and that transfers then into the ADN.
Yeah, it's a bouquet of flavors indeed. I remember that from a couple of years ago when you guys actually had one at the booth when we smelled the end of it. Yeah. Tell us real quick, Jere, about TAA and what's kind of going on with some of the newer stuff that might be, officially coming out with La Aurora, or maybe be a teaser with La Aurora.
Well, there will be a TAA cigar that's coming with La Aurora. I don't believe I can really do anything necessarily to announce right now as far as anything, as far as the blend or whatnot, but there will be something coming. It's very unique because it's not something where it's just a different size within a current blend.
Did we smoke it at the
But
factory?
yes, you actually had the opportunity to smoke it when you were there in November. So
Well,
it's something that
don't
you
give
guys
away
have
the
had.
secret sauce, Cole. Don't give away the secret sauce.
Well, it's fantastic, Rick, because we don't know what it is.
But we're just teasing it, though.
So-
We're just teasing
Yeah,
it right now.
but you know what?
But it is coming.
But
We
yeah, it's
we did order it.
Yeah.
It is the TAA
Yep.
cigar through La Aurora. It is going to be coming to Tobacco Grove. We are going to be having that.
Yep.
So something to look forward to.
yeah, but of course, obviously, right now with the way things are currently in the world, it's slated to be in April. Nothing that I've been told has changed, but obviously that can change just because of anything with the current situation as far as closures and whatnot. But
Absolutely.
as we get closer and closer, there'll be more information out there about it.
And Jerry, I know we talked just a little bit as we're getting ready to wrap up. We talked about running a promotion with La Aurora. Do you want to tell everybody a little bit about what we're going to do for the? And again, this basically is something that will go into effect as we get back into the store after April 11th. So this isn't something that's going to happen right this second, but we are going to take pre-orders on this. All you have to do is email at info@tobaccogrove.com, or you can message us on Facebook as well. So Jerry, tell us about it.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to have a limited number of packages such that you buy 4 cigars from La Aurora line. We're going to include another cigar for free. They'll be packaged up in a humidified bag, so that way they'll be able to be kept stored properly if you don't have anything as far as a larger humidor to work with. But that's something that will be offered. So once you guys get opened, be able to, as far as anybody that's done something maybe as a pre-order, be able to have those packaged up and ready for guys to pick up. Otherwise, it's something that you guys will be able to offer once you guys get back open, which hopefully will be sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. That's a phenomenal promotion. We greatly appreciate it too.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
So,
you're welcome.
okay. So as we're wrapping this up, last question for you, really. What have you been doing to keep yourself sane? You been watching anything? Have you gotten into the Tiger King thing? You had to have seen Tiger King. Everybody's
Been talking to other reps. I mean, are you
I have not actually seen the Tiger King yet. No.
What? You haven't seen it yet?
Well,
oh man.
so
oh.
So
Rick, he deals with lions
I have
every
8.
day.
No, I understand. So I have 8 states that I normally cover. So I don't have internet service at home. So everything that I do as far as if I were to stream anything would be done through the data service I have on my phone and can stream it up on my TV.
Gary, I'm going to give you my
I haven't
Netflix
gone so far as
password.
doing that, but
I'm going to give you
I
my
think
Netflix password. I'm going to give it to you. Okay, you get on. I want you to watch all 7 episodes. Just cram it in, and you will not be disappointed. It's absolutely. Listen,
I haven't seen it either.
It's like Jerry
I haven't seen it
Springer.
either.
Okay, it's Jerry Springer on meth, and it's absolutely out of control. Add tigers to it. Okay, that's how crazy this thing is.
Oh, just seeing some of the memes, however you want to pronounce it. Just seeing some of that stuff out there and some of the comments people have made. No, it's definitely something gotta watch. But been watching a lot of movies, using different streaming services. I just haven't signed up for Netflix right now. Got like Showtime, Stars, that type of thing through Hulu. So
we're gonna
big
change
catalog of movies to be able to do. But
we're gonna change that.
Went back and we watched all of the Game of Thrones, all 8 seasons. Started doing just did blitzes of watching like all of the Lord of the Rings, working on all of the Bond movies, stuff like that.
You have to watch Chernobyl.
I will take a look at that.
It's crazy. Me and Rick have watched it many times. It's really adds to the anxiety that we're all feeling right now.
Well, all right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here.
I tell you, the first movie, just quick, the first movie that I watched when going into the stay-at-home order was Outbreak.
Oh, that just scared
Wow.
me. Yeah, I can't. But
Won't get Netflix, but he'll watch Outbreak.
yeah. All right, so
I've got
basically,
that on disc. I mean, come on.
That's our rep.
we want to. Yeah, that's why they call him the Hitman. I mean, he's got a dark sense of humor.
Yeah, he does.
we just want to thank you, Jere, for taking the time out to speak with us and have this video conference so everybody at Tobacco Grove can see this, and we appreciate it, man. Stay healthy and keep in touch. Definitely hope everything's going well for you out there. Thank you again.
All right, brother.
You're welcome. Appreciate it, guys. Great talking with you, and you guys stay safe, and hopefully see you guys soon in the store.
Sounds good, buddy. Thanks, Jere.